Hey y'all, welcome to tonight's video or today's video, whenever you're watching this. We're going to talk about one of my favorite houses, Tiziana Terenzi. This is a viewer request. I have, I would say, something in the neighborhood of 13 or 14 fragrances here in-house, some of which I'm actually going to be posting to Mercari soon. And I'll share with you the reasons why they're fabulous, but I don't need them in my collection. They're a bit redundant to some other things I have. And I've also sampled another 5 or so. Not everything that I've tried from the house has been a winner for me, and I'll share my thoughts as we go along. But for the most part, I've enjoyed many more than I haven't liked. There are several lines in this house to explore. I do not pretend to be an expert on them. I don't know about all of them. But there are different bottle shapes that I'll talk about as I go along. I'll start with 2 that I think I'm probably going to be putting on Mercari soon that I do enjoy and like. But one of them is redundant and the other is a little too masculine for my general wear. So there are a line of fragrances from Tiziana Terenzi that come in these black bottles. And I think even within that, there's this line and then another line that has fancier labels on the front. So this is called Maremma. And the reason I'm going to be putting this on Mercari, I think, is because it reminds me so very much of Black Orchid from Tom Ford. And I have Black Orchid. I have the Gold Le Parfum or Parfum version. I have a Voile de Fleur flanker of Black Orchid. I'm good on Black Orchid. And this is very, very close to that. Lovely fragrance. Lots of chocolate, heavy on the patchouli and woody aspects. So this is a very earthy fragrance. There's a little bit of sweetness that comes out as it settles down on the skin. So this is quite lovely, but I get this sort of same vibe as I mentioned from those others. So I would say if you don't have Black Orchid, this is probably a more tolerable version. It doesn't have that strange, well, this is earthy, but not like that other odd note. I don't remember if it's like truffle or some kind of mushroom note or whatever that other folks are just like repulsed by in Black Orchid. I like it, whatever's happening in there. But anyway, Maremma might be one that you would look into if you want something like Black Orchid, but that one's a little bit too odd for you. This might scratch your itch. And then a powerhouse of a fragrance that I think is really just too masculine for my general wear. My husband's not into this, or I would put it on his shelf. It's Laudano Nero. And I joked about this in a Halloween video because it is such a strong, pungent fragrance, very powerful, very projecting and long lasting. This is very, very smoky, ambery, oudy, boozy. It's all of the things. So if you're a gentleman in particular or a very daring lady who wants that sort of deep, dark, mysterious winter fragrance that borders on being skanky, you might want to check out Laudano Nero. I appreciate it for what it is. I just think for me, it's the kind of fragrance that wears me instead of it. And I have very many others from Tiziana Terenzi that are super pleasant daily wears that I'll talk about soon. So this will likely be going up on Mercari too if you're interested. There are 2 others that have the same bottle shape that I'll comment on that I have tried. One is Al Contrario. This fragrance smelled a lot like snickerdoodles to me. It was sweet, like a cookie. It smelled like a cookie, a sugar cookie, a snickerdoodle with some spices on it, and had some creamy white florals as well, like light, very pale, creamy florals. It didn't have enough oomph for me, but I did like the smell, just not enough to purchase a bottle because I wanted some more depth. However, I will say a lot of people really enjoy Al Contrario as a soft, subtle, sweet gourmand. So check it out if you're into that sort of scent profile. The 4th one that I'll talk about that has this same bottle shape is called Dionisio, which some people just go crazy over as the best vanilla that they've ever tried. I'll share with you that when I tried it, it had a very strong gasoline note in the opening that I just didn't care for me. So I couldn't get down with that fragrance. I wanted to because I'd seen such fantastic reviews on it. So if you're interested in a really strong vanilla that's long lasting, and you don't pick up gasoline notes and fragrances, you may want to check out Dionisio as one that is raved about as a beautiful vanilla fragrance. So then I've only tried one from the Sea Stars collection. These are bottles that look, I think they look like this, but they have beautiful colors like peach and blue and all of that. And they have a sea star draped on them, which I think is just super neat. These bottles retailed at some absurd price. I mean, some of the other fragrances lines in the Tiziana Terenzi set are like insultingly priced. the C stars are among them. However, they have been showing up more and more on discount sites. So check them out. They're still in like the $300 to $400 range, even on discount. They came out on the market, I think, in the $700 to $800 range, if I remember correctly. Whoa. Hello. But Atlantide is one that I was able to try. And I found this to be a very green tuberose. It was aromatic and had some powdery aspects. And I found this to be a very loud, eternally lasting fragrance when I sampled it. I would want that one, but I'm not willing to pay that price. Other people love Telea. I have never tried that, so I can't comment on that. But I wanted to share that that's a popular one from the line as well if you're interested in trying that out. Next, I'm going to go to 3 fragrances that look like this. They are gold and have a black top. This one is called Delox. The top is a little bit flimsy. I call it my hockey puck tops. And yeah, don't attempt to pick this up by the top. But the fragrance, I really, really enjoy. It's been compared a lot to Intense Cafe and to Rose's Vanille. And I can understand why. This is rose, a really soft, subtle rose with musk. It's a bit sweet, and it has a tiny bit of coffee in there that adds some character. I really enjoy this. I find this to be a pleasing, sophisticated fragrance that is very versatile, and people enjoy this when I wear it. One that I enjoyed, but I'm not sure everyone does, is called Borea or Borea. I just said the same thing. I said Borea or Borea. Anyway, I get some really luxurious shampoo vibes from this sometimes. It's got, I would say, a pronounced white floral aspect. Tuberose is one of the main players here, as well as some coconut that lends some sweetness, vanilla. I also get fruitiness from this. It just smells like one of the sort of higher end shampoos at a salon where they bought the good stuff for your hair. And I like that. Yeah, it doesn't smell juvenile. It does have some depth. I do get hints of Sea Intense, that kind of black currant sweet smell in here. But it's also equally floral and, like I said, coconutty. Yeah, it's a really pretty fragrance, very feminine. I enjoy this, and I find it long lasting. Some people don't really enjoy the musk in here or feel like it smells a little bit more like breath than fragrance. I don't get that. So then probably my very, very favorite from all of the Terenzi fragrances that I have tried, and it made my top 10 list this past year, it is Vele, which I understand stands for sail, the word Vele. Anyway, I can't get enough of this fragrance. It's very much not a safe blind buy because it has some extreme green aspects that I think would put people off. But I really adore that. This also, even though it's not listed as a note, I feel like it has a very strong coconut accord. I get a ton of creaminess from this alongside that green. And I do get like tropical fruitiness in the neighborhood of mango, passion fruit, something like that, that smells like a tropical drink, like one of those really fruity, juicy, sweet drinks, along with this gorgeous greenness and that creaminess. This is just, I mean, I can't stop sniffing this. This is my favorite from the line. I enjoy the way that it develops on the skin, and I think that it's super long lasting too. So this is the top winner for me. And then one that I have worn on occasion, but it's on my husband's shelf and he wears a lot and it smells amazing on him. I love when he wears this. It's Ursa. I would say that this is primarily a patchouli fragrance. It is a beautiful linear patchouli that smells clean. It's not the dirty, earthy kind. I like a dirty, earthy patchouli too. But this reminds me of the patchouli that's in, I think it's called White Patchouli from Tom Ford, which I had and ended up passing along. Really great fragrance, but I had so many patchoulis at that point that I didn't need it. This is really fabulous. And it has some lovely woodiness and leather as well. So I would say that this is more so a masculine fragrance than anything else, but certainly one that ladies who love patchouli can pull off. I really appreciate the beauty and the balance of what's in this fragrance. A fragrance that I find especially delightful, but I think can be intolerable for people that don't appreciate the kind of musk that is used in the Terenzi fragrances. It's Draco. Beautiful, musky, fruity. I get a hint of salt in here too, but some of the primary notes are musk and peach and pear and vanilla. It's sweet, it's powdery. I find this to be super delightful. Imagine like Hypnotic Poison, and I'm going to tell you all about a fragrance that smells like Hypnotic Poison EDP in the Terenzi house in a minute. But imagine Hypnotic Poison had a fruity cousin, a powdery fruity cousin. This is it. This is it. This is one of the most lovely peaches. It's a really light, airy, friendly type of peach, if you will. There's some nice citruses in here as well as white florals, but primarily pear, peach, and musk combined together with vanilla and some powder. Those are the prominent notes and accords that I get in this one. I like it. It's a winner. Then one of the newest additions from Tiziana Terenzi that I adore is Lince. Lince reminds me very much of Hypnotic Poison, or rather what I wish that Hypnotic Poison smelled like the original EDP formulation. It's vanilla and it's a heliotrope powderiness. It has a cold iris note. It has a little tiny hint of spice. But I love that this reminds me of clouds made out of powder or something like that. Yes, it's a powdery fragrance, but it's more so like a sweet powderiness that I think is just delicious. And it's a dense powderiness. It's not like your light poof, make your throat dry kind of powderiness. This is really quite beautiful. It's seductive. It's sweet. Yeah, it's Hypnotic Poison on steroids. Check this one out.
Okay, so Bianco Puro recently arrived in the mail. This is one that I was super curious to try. Let me tell you, this fragrance retails for $395. I don't think so. I think it was just slightly over $100 for this fragrance. It has a really promising note structure, and let me share some of the notes. Lemon, green mandarin, cloves, mango, caramel, also lavender, but it's the base notes that I smell the most immediately straight out of the atomizer when you spray it and throughout the life of the fragrance. Patchouli, and in particular, Cambodian oud comes through. A little bit of sandalwood and a little bit of softness and sweetness, perhaps from the vanilla bean in the base, and definitely some of that characteristic Tiziana Terenzi musk that I enjoy. This is one of those fragrances that if you spray it on your arm and smell it up close, it's going to be particularly pungent on that oud note. And I would just advise, if you do get this, to spray and step away and allow it to waft in the air. You'll enjoy it more that way. You will still get an oudy fragrance for sure. There's this woodiness, this sense of like earthy dirtiness to it. At the same time, it does have a sort of creamy surround to it that I find really particularly interesting. I don't get a tropical accord, and I can't say that I get citrus in here. However, I do find it to be an interesting fragrance. I will play with this some more. Right now, it's a like and not a love, and that's okay. Sometimes that's how fragrances start out. However, I'm in this phase where I'm moving away from my interest in oud, and I would say there's a fairly pronounced oud in here. So if you are oud averse, you are not going to like this. If you like the idea of oud with a creamy surround that has some hints of a soft vanilla and maybe something in the juicy direction, but not quite getting there, this might be interesting. The description for this says that it is the fragrance that defines the scent of white, like the color white, and I disagree. If I had to think about how this fragrance smells, I would say it smells like the leather on this rocking chair and maybe some of the wood, like these tones, if I had to give this scent a color right now. Again, that's initial impressions after trying this maybe 3 times now. I'll keep playing with it and keep you all updated.
Then a fragrance that's really, really challenging to describe because it's been compared to Baccarat Rouge 540 very much, and I get why. Spirito Fiorentino, which I would say is probably among my favorites from the house too. So you have Vele, you have this, you have Lince. I mean, there's so many good ones. Lince and a couple that are coming up. Yes, Baccarat Rouge 540 in the sense that you do get saffron, you get this spun airiness type of thing. There's this whole Band-Aid thing that people talk about, brand new Band-Aids in the hospital. There's some sugar and sweetness here, but one of the things that distinguishes this from BR 540 in a really great way and makes this its own fragrance is a leather accord. There's some nice, really tolerable leather, particularly for those of you that are intimidated by leather. Well, maybe not, because the leather's a little pronounced in here, but it's not a rough and tumble rugged leather. This is really good. It's a beast mode fragrance. It takes you through the entire day. It makes its presence known. Very unisex. I think this would smell great on anyone. So Spirito Fiorentino, love the name also. The notes for the next one, don't worry about what those notes say. I'm gonna tell you what this smells like. It smells very little like what the notes say. This is called Lunanera. Now, the label says that this is exclusively for Barney's New York. So I don't know if there is another Lunanera made or if it's just this version. So like a really sort of dark almost midnight blue bottle, or maybe it's black. This this smells like the most amazing Johnson and Johnson baby oil in powder form. In powder form. So if you remember baby oil, it has some aromatic touches in it that you might not associate with a baby oil, but it's what makes it comforting and special and clean and unique. So imagine those aspects of baby oil combined with a pretty distinct powderiness here. And so I have to share with you, my husband does not enjoy the powdery aspects of this. And so it's one that I have to wear on my own separately, when we're not doing things together. I really enjoy this. I think it smells really beautiful. I love a good baby oil smell. Yeah, I think this is a luxurious scent. So coming up are two that I consider to be probably the sexiest, if you will, from the line in terms of like an allure that they have. And they're in the gold bottles. This is Mirach. This is a really lovely rose oud fragrance. It's got touches of saffron. It has some saltiness in it, and it also has sweetness. So it's a bit of like a study in contradictions. There's something so clean and fresh and linear about this, yet deep and complex. No denying that there's heavy rose in here, and it's a clean, crisp rose, not a dark rose. The oud is incredibly tolerable. It's very soft and subtle and really supporting the rose rather than leading as the primary actor in the fragrance. So I would say more than anything, this is a linear, clean rose supported by all of those other things. And it has some sweetness and saltiness and is a little bit of a paradox that way, and incredibly sexy and alluring as a result. And then a beautiful date night fragrance, summertime fragrance. You can wear this all year round, and I do wear it all year round. Husband loves this. It's Tabit. This is gorgeous. This reminds me of so many different things. This is another one that has musk and peach and coconut and a cotton candy note and is woody at the same time. It's a lot of different things, and it's alluring. This is very sexy, very interesting. I have to share that this is a fragrance that I didn't love when I first tried it because I thought it was weird. But the more that I tried it, the more it grew on me, and it's a powerhouse. You put it on and it's very alluring and sexy and will attract a lot of attention. Really, really good. Great for all year round, like I said. But I think with the fruitiness in here would especially shine in summer evenings. So this is probably the sexiest from the bunch. So then among the most expensive of the Tiziana Terenzi collections are the Comets and those that are in bottles that look like that. And I think there's even tiers there. There's like the regular line of that, which can run $400 and $500 a bottle, gasp. Now, remember, look on discount sites and you can get them sometimes for $100 and some odd dollars. And then there's even like, I think it's called an Attar line of that. That's even more expensive and has really fancy packaging on the front of the bottle, like almost like an emblem, a gold emblem. I haven't tried any of those, so I can't comment on them. I do want to share thoughts on two fragrances that I sampled. One is called Halley and the other one is Tuttle. So Halley, I thought it smelled very sweet, like an oudy fragrance that had a lot of sweet touches. Peach, and it had rose, it was musky. It's a fragrance that I enjoyed. I feel like I have something else like that in my collection that I still haven't been able to put my hands on, but I thought that was a nice fragrance. I didn't end up picking up a full bottle, and I'm not opposed to doing so at one point if I'm interested. So then Tuttle, and I mean, someone got offended in one of the videos when I said I didn't like it. They nearly cussed me out. Lord, y'all, these are just fragrances. Can we not get ridiculous and like assault each other verbally over a freaking bottle of smelly water? So I didn't like this fragrance at all when I sampled it. That doesn't mean I won't sample it again in the future and love it. But at the time that I sampled it, it smelled very similar to Tiger Balm for me. I said what I said. That's what I got. It also smelled like plums, like a pine sol type of thing at the top mixed with plums. And then as it settled down, it became like a tropical cough drop is what I called it. Hey, if it works for you and you love it, fantastic. For me, this was a no. I'm always willing to try something again, and you never know when your mind changes, but wanted to share some thoughts on that one. And then two in this bottle shape that I do have, one of which has become a love and the other I am growing to know. One is called Hale Bopp. When I first purchased this, I thought that I didn't like it or that I would have a hard time with it. And I wore it, and the more I wore it, the more I came to appreciate its intense beauty, and it turned into a love. This is everything I wished that Shalimar was, like the original Shalimar. I have a big bottle of Shalimar and will probably always have that in my collection. I appreciate its beautiful citrus, amber, everything. I mean, I appreciate everything about it. And this is like that too. This has been also compared to Le Lion from Chanel, which I have only smelled through like a dupe. So I don't really know what that smells like. I'd be interested in getting an actual sample of that as well. Deeply ambery, some powderiness. And I love that this has hints of citrus and cinnamon and other spices that just make this divine. It also has a really strong vanilla base. That the amber and the vanilla together, this is so good. It's similar to Material from Amouage and other fragrances like that that have a nice amber vanilla balance and some spices. This one is unique in that I think the cinnamon in here is pretty pronounced, and I think that the lemon note or whatever the citrus is that's in here really gives this a nice kick that's different from perhaps its other ambery vanillic counterparts out there in the fragrance world right now. I think this is a very sophisticated, elevated version of Shalimar, like I said. And yeah, this is a winner and a keeper for me. So then Wirtanen, beautiful bottle. In fact, I like all of the bottles like in this range. Super pretty. Gosh, would love to have them all, but they can be incredibly expensive. This one I think retailed for four something, I believe. I think I got it for the 160 range on jomashop.com. So this fragrance opens super woody and peppery in a way that I think would be off-putting initially for a lot of people, particularly ladies who are looking for a sweeter, more feminine smell. This may be a little bit off-putting in the opening. As it settles down, you start to get more of a caramel, like a sweet, salty caramel, and a vanilla that comes through, and a little bit of rose in this fragrance. It's fairly complex and interesting, and it's one that I would say definitely try before you buy, because it's a little bit different and odd, but I so far am on the like side. I don't know that I love this yet. I definitely don't dislike it. And I appreciate its complexity and look forward to wearing it more and hoping that it becomes the distinct love that Hale Bopp became. What about you? What's your favorite Tiziana Terenzi fragrance? Please share in the comments and share why you like it, what's so special about it, and are there any that you would like to try? Like, which ones are you curious about? Thanks so much for hanging out with me and hearing about Tiziana Terenzi fragrances. I hope that you have a great one, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, my friends.